Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 7 of the Halloween Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing 20 Halloween-themed Cricut projects in 20 days. 10 of the projects are designed by me and 10 are guest designer projects from some of my crafting friends. Today it's another one of my projects and it's a big one. This detailed raven paper craft is a massive 20 inches wide. However, the back pieces come in sections, which means you can cut it out from regular US letter, A4 or 12 by 12 paper on a standard sized Cricut mat. In case you prefer a smaller raven, I've also included a second version of the cut file, which doesn't have the bottom layers split up, so it's easier to cut at a smaller size. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Halloween Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/HCC23. If you're already registered, check for an email from me with subject line Halloween Craft Countdown ticket information or any of the other emails from me that you've been sent throughout the countdown. Can't find them? Check your junk or spam box to see if they've gone there by mistake. These emails contain the link to view the countdown projects and download today's files. Scroll down this page to find today's project. Click the button to start the files automatically downloading to your computer or mobile device. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC23 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Halloween Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. All downloads come in zip folders. You will need to unzip them before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, and then click Upload over on the left, and then you can go into Upload Image. I've already uploaded the smaller version of the Raven, so I'll show you this next bit for the large off-the-mat version. Click into Upload Image, and then you can either click Browse to find the file on your computer, or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder, and within that you've got Large Raven, which is the off-the-mat one broken up into sections, and Small Raven, which is the one where it all cuts from one sheet of card. Let's go into the large one, and then the file to choose for both of them is the one which starts SVG in the file name. So I'll click and drag that in, and it will look like this with all the pieces one on top of the other. If yours looks different and you see all the bits next to each other instead, that means you've uploaded the wrong file. So if that's the case, click cancel down here and try again, and make sure you choose the one which starts SVG. This one's looking good, so I can click on upload. And then it will appear in your recent uploads, and it's actually not showing the small one now. There's a little bug in Design Space at the moment where sometimes it's not showing all of your recent uploads. So if you're having the same thing, you can just click View All here, and then they'll appear. So this is my large Raven, which I can tell by clicking on those 3 little dots to get the file name up, and this is the smaller one. And you can't actually tell the difference just by looking at them here. So let's add both of them to the canvas so that I can show the difference. And this kind of does show it straight away. We've got our big giant off the mat one, which loads in at just over 20 inches wide, and the smaller one, which comes in at about 11.3. Now the main difference can be seen if we look at the bottom layers on here. So this is my smaller one, and my bottom layer, if I just move that down with my arrow keys, you see the bottom layer is all one bit. It's going to cut from one piece of card. However, with the giant one, we wouldn't be able to do that on the Cricut because it's too small, unless of course you get one of the fancy new Cricut Venture machines, but I don't have one of those. So on the giant one, if we scroll down, instead of having that one layer where all the pieces are together, it's instead broken into different parts. That means we can cut it from our regular US letter, A4 or 12 by 12 cardstock, and then we'll glue the pieces together to come up with the giant design. Alright, so I'm going to delete my smaller one and just make the giant one for here. You want to be careful with the colours, they do look very similar on screen. To see what you're going to need, you can press Colour Sync over here on the top right, and that splits it out for you. So we've got a black, a pure black, there's a very dark grey, and that's the colour that's appearing in the wings behind the black. Then there's a kind of mid-grey here. That's the colour that's in the feet and the top bit of the beak. And then there's the lightest grey, which is just this light colour in the beak, and I think it's in the eyes too. And then finally there is a white. So that's the different colours that you'll need. And I'm actually not going to resize this. I'm going to do it as is. So it's about 20 inches wide, 10 inches tall. If I click Make It, you'll be able to see a bit clearer all of those pieces. So I'll scroll down to the black. I'm using A4 cards, so let's change that to A4. And now you can see we've got just one half of the wing here. And if I look down at the next bit, it's got all the different details and the layers. And then it goes through the other half. The little circle cutouts in the wings will enable us to thread some twine through so that we can hang this raven up if we want to. Or you can just prop it up against something or stick it straight to the wall with blue tack or command strips or something like that. The holes won't actually be visible once we've finished the raven because we'll be covering them up. So if you don't want to use them, don't worry, they'll be hidden. They also make it easier to help line up some of the layers. So it does need a lot of cardstock. Remember, this is going to be very big, but it's definitely worth it. And then here I've got my lighter grey, so it does look a little bit different. Just be very careful when you're loading your cardstock onto the mat that you are using the correct colour at the correct time. When you've finished getting everything how you want it to look, press Continue to connect to your Cricut machine. Follow all the on-screen instructions to get everything cut out from your cardstock, and then we'll see how to put together the giant version of the raven. Here are all of the pieces of my giant raven cut out and ready to be stuck together. I've positioned these so that all of the wings are with their matching bottom pieces. So we've got the bottom bit, which I've done in kind of a slight off black colour. And then the top layers I've done in a kind of shiny effect black so that you can see there's a difference in the two colours, but it is very subtle. It's difficult when you're doing an animal or a bird or a design that's all black to get two different shades so that it ends up still looking black and not grey, but I think I've managed to achieve it here. So rather than lay the whole thing out like I normally do before I start, all I've done is just get the same sized wings and put them in little piles. So I've got all of my wings, I know which way to put it, and then I've put the body, actually you can see I'm not going to try and move it, the body and the head and the feet all together there, just so I know I've got all the pieces, everything's looking good and I'm happy with all my colours. Just as an aside before we start, here is the smaller version of the raven. I see this is all one piece at the back compared to this one which comes in several. So I just thought I'd show you that one. I haven't done a video on how to stick this one together, but it is pretty much exactly the same process as this one. It's just you obviously don't have to stick the different sections together. The download folder does come with an assembly guide for this little one all by himself, so you can go and grab that if you need a little bit of an extra guide. Alright, let's get started. I think sometimes I need a little counter for how many times I say let's get started in one video. Okay, we will begin with the very two bottom layers of the wings, and these are the ones that you've got extra cutouts on the middle so that you know where to stick the overlap. I'll be sticking this together with a combination of glue and foam squares. The glue I'm using is called Collall. I really like it because it doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some glues can do, and I put it into these needle tip applicator bottles. Barely Art Glue or Art Glitter Glue are great alternatives. And for my foam squares for this project, these are a little bit bigger than I would normally use because this is a bit of a bigger project than I would normally do. But it doesn't really matter what size foam squares you use. If yours are really, really big, you might need to cut them smaller in a few places. But as this is such a large design, I think you'll probably be fine. Okay, so we'll start. Oh, I said it again. By overlapping these two pieces, and they'll be glued together so that this circle and these two triangles perfectly line up so that you can see your work surface underneath. It's important to get this right because all the other layers build up on top of here. So I'll put my glue on so it's just covering all of those holes, and then this one goes on top and that will line up. We're not building up the tail as we go along because that'll all be covered up by this piece when we add that on a little bit later. Next, we've got these pits which will go on the top, and these are going to be glued on. You could use foam squares if you want loads and loads of depth, but then you're going to end up with about 10 levels of foam if you foam everything, which might end up quite heavy. So I'm going to glue all the layers that have the cutouts on the wings, and we'll foam square the solid ones. Try and get the glue around the outlines of the feathers because it will give you a better stick. It's kind of easy when the design is bigger because there's more space to work with. And this just glues right on top. You can use the circle to line it up as well as just doing the edge because it's exactly the same. And then this one, we're going to overlap just like before. Whilst that glue is drying, it's time to decide if you want to use any twine or ribbon on your raven. If you do, this is the time to add it. I've got a piece of twine here and I've threaded it through like how I would normally do it, joining up the two holes. But that isn't the ideal solution for this raven because you can see the twine in there. Your other option is to go the other way through. So this time we're sticking the twine through the front, like this. But again, if you pull that tight, it's going to show on the wings. So what you can do is just sellotape it down like this so it's going to be hidden. And you can test to make sure by getting the next size of wing and making sure that that covers it up where you stick it with your sellotape. And I think this is the way I'm going to do it. Our foam squares that we're going to add will mean that this will sit nicely over the twine to cover it up. The third way to do it, if you want to not have that big bit of twine in the middle, is to tie a knot like this around one of the holes. And then measure this to however long you want it to go, and then tie a knot also in there, and that way it will just be tied on in those two places. But again, that means you might end up seeing the knots as it goes, as it's hung up. Lost my train of thought there. Getting all tangled. Right, I am going through the front. Like that, and then get some sticky tape and tape it down, making sure it's hidden, or it will be hidden. So that should be fine, like that. Give yourself enough room along the top to add some foam squares in a moment. Right, it's nice and secure, and it will hang up nicely when it's all down and finished. I can just tie a knot in there when I'm ready, and that will hang. Alright, next we're on to the next level of the wings, and you can see where this is going to go because of the detail layer underneath. So this wing is going to go up to this line before we get to the pattern, and then down the middle. So because I know where that's going to go, I'm going to add my foam directly to the raven so that I make sure I don't accidentally put foam under where any of that twine is going to go. I want to build my foam squares around the twine so that the card I'm about to stick on will cover it up, and then this is about the same height as my foam squares, so it should all level out beautifully. You want to add quite a lot of foam, as this is a lot of cardstock we're putting on top, and also it's going to get quite heavy. I'm only putting my foam to the middle for now because the other bit will overlap on top. I probably would be alright to do it the whole way across. Shall we risk it? Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go wild. Look at me, being all adventurous with my foam squares. Alright, now I can peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. So one side is going to go on there. It's pretty easy to line up, but just gently drop it down to check you're happy before you press to seal. And then for the one on this side, which is this one, I'm going to add a little bit of glue down there so that the middle bits stick together. And the rest of it will sit on top of the foam squares that are already in place. Like that. And now you see that twine is perfectly hidden. Next we've got the detail layer for this section of wings, and these are both glued, left and right. Doesn't matter which one you put on first. Beautiful. One layer of wing to go, and it's going to work exactly the same as last time. We've got the foam for the first solid bits, and then we'll glue that detailed layer on the top. This time I'll add the glue on the back of the solid bit because it doesn't quite go all the way to the edge. Be careful when adding the foam to the other side because you don't want to add anywhere it's going to overlap. So I'm going to, I think, add the foam here for the body and then just do the wing on the back of here. And a little bit of glue where it will overlap. Then our last bit for the wings is the detailed layers to be glued on top. We're now on to the body of the raven. So start with this big solid bit here, which is going to make up the body. And for this one, it's up to you if you want to glue it or if you want to foam it. I think I'll foam it because I want that extra little pop of dimension. But I'm going to add the foam just on this part because obviously the tail doesn't exist on here. I don't want to put any foam where it's not going to have anything to stick to. Just bear in mind this doesn't quite go to the edge of the layer underneath, so don't put any foam too close to those sides. Excellent. And now the detail layer is glued on top. It's definitely starting to look like a raven now. Okay. It's up to you if you want to work on either the head or the feet next. I'm going to do the feet. So first we'll foam on the solid layers of the feet. And you can line it up against the claws there and there. That one. And then glue the little detail layers on top. And now we move on to the head. This comes in quite a few different pieces to give him a real good expression on his face. First, we've got the white layer. This is a foam square layer. Oops. This goes right up against the top. You can line it up with the little triangles on the sides. There. And then next is this grey layer with just the two tiny bits taken out. This is a glue layer, and it's to show that tiny bit of white through as the catch light in the eyes. And it might seem like a lot of unnecessary pieces for the head, but once it's all put together, you'll see that it really does make a difference. Next is the black piece with the two eye holes in it. Because the head's so many bits of card, even though it's only got that one bit of foam, it still becomes quite dimensional. And then finally is this one. If you wanted to, you could foam this to make the eyes look a little bit further back. You'll get some shadowing in there. Just looking at this one to see what I did. I glued it all on this one, but it is so much smaller. So glue worked better there. Oh, I can't decide. I'm going to glue it because I want the beak to be foamed to make the beak look really big. And I think if this was foamed too, it would just be a little bit too much. Finally, we've got the outline of the head, which will be glued. And then to finish off his rather grumpy expression, we've got this layer, kind of like a little mask to go around his eyes, which is also glued. For his beak, the bigger piece I'll add some foam for. I'm going to need just to cut this smaller with a pair of scissors so it doesn't go over the edge. There. And then finally, the detail glued on top. And now we have our giant off-the-mat raven all finished. How cool does he look? And perfectly spooky to hang in your windows or on your wall for Halloween. And don't forget his little friend too. You could build a whole collection. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make the giant off-the-mat Halloween raven. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and Halloween fun. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 8 of the Halloween craft countdown. But don't forget, the link to get the cut files for today's project is craftwithsarah.com/HCC23, but they are only free to download for 24 hours after this video goes live. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!